Happy Monday, how's it going, guys? So, 4th episode, thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Hope your day is going very well. So let's get straight into the first section. Agaboosh. So what have I been playing? Pretty cool, actually. So I got myself a thing called the GPD XD, which is this little thing here. Looks suspiciously like a Nintendo 3DS XL. So for comparison, I've got the GP here and the 3DS XL here. I was like, I had to check, is that right? So when you put them next to each other, they're really... Actually, the GP is slightly shorter on the length and about slightly shorter on the width as well, or the depth, or what you want to call it. So it's slightly smaller than an XL. And there you go. And it's kind of amazing. I wasn't sure. Great, and now I'm banging it everywhere. I wasn't sure how good it would be, but I went ahead and kind of risked it and dove in. I'm really glad I did. It's really good. The buttons are decent. There's a D-pad. There's 2 analog sticks. There's the face buttons. There's 4 shoulder buttons, start select, and a bunch of Android buttons to navigate the menus and stuff. Volume control, power. So all the basics. Has SD card, USB, HDMI out. It's Wi-Fi. It's Bluetooth, I think. Maybe not Bluetooth, but definitely Wi-Fi. I got the 32 gig internal memory version, which is a lot, I think, for what I use it for anyway. Which is primarily emulation, actually, which maybe is a dirty word to some people, but I think it depends on your intent and what you're doing and what you're trying to get out of it. For me, as hopefully you already know, I buy games, I buy machines, I'm a collector, I enjoy that. So the reason I got this thing was to kind of more of just a play style, a convenience, to play the games that I want to play, that I already own for the most part, in a comfortable, convenient way. I have things like, my Game Gear here, and I have, the Wonder Swan, which is awesome. I have the Neo Geo Pocket. These are all wonderful machines, but this one specifically didn't age so well. Don't even have backs for the battery compartments there, but it takes 6 AA batteries. It lasts about 2 seconds. The screen isn't great. Didn't age very well, which was a bummer. I ordered that actually last year, and I ordered one of my favorite games, Wonder Boy, for the Game Gear. Got a Japanese one because the box art is amazing. I was kind of disappointed by just the playing it on here. It's just a little rough, the battery life and the screen refresh and everything's a little bit. So, and then for the Wonder Swan, I got this amazing game, which is basically Ghosts and Goblins, for the Wonder Swan, which is really great. But again, similar problem, with those old machines. So getting the emulators and playing them on here now, it's kind of amazing. So games that I've got, recently I've been playing a lot of R-Type. If you follow me on Twitter or whatever, you may have seen some of those posts. So, Game Boy Color, GBA, Super Nintendo, I own all of those. And probably some other ones I can't think of right now. So it's neat to kind of have them all in one place on this thing. But also, the arcade version, the original version, which is impossible to get hold of in a convenient way. So it's nice to be able to get MAME on there and download that and play the arcade one, next to the Game Boy one, next to the Super Nintendo one or whatever, and kind of get a feel for the differences. And they're all unique, different games, even though they're adaptations of the same game. They're all quite different, which is really cool. So anyway, so I've been playing that, which is really good. Lots of R-Type this week, and even just downloading some of the games that I worked on back in the day, like Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel for the Super Nintendo. Obviously I own that, it's right here. I should say, I wouldn't encourage people to buy it to then steal games, essentially. I don't think that's cool, I wouldn't, get that to be then, great, I'm going to pirate all the games, so I never have to, buy a game again kind of thing. That's not cool. I make games, and I need them to sell to make money so I can continue making games. But I think there's a lot of murky kind of grey area there of what is legal, what's allowed, what's good and what's bad. I try to do it honestly, where I'm like, you know, I own the game, I'm now going to download it onto this thing so I can play it in a more convenient way. Or like MAME arcade games, which I simply cannot buy. Or, you know, I do actually have one arcade machine I'm looking at right there, which is Strider, which is great. Now I have the ROM for that on here as well. But, you know, I am going to download other MAME ROMs that I don't own naturally, because there's no other way of getting a hold of them, you know. It does emulate other things, such as the PSP, probably the DS and stuff like that. I don't know how well it does 3D games. I mean, 2D games it does really great. 3D, I'm not sure. But, you know, again, because those machines are still very much available, and yeah, maybe the PSP isn't technically making anyone any money anymore, but obviously the DS probably is, the 3DS certainly is, you know, the Vita, and just the current gen machines, you know, I certainly don't condone getting emulators for those, if they even exist. I'm not sure if they do, because that's just blatant stealing. That's just like, no, I don't want to pay for that game, but I want to play it, and that's not cool. So anyway, so if it is something you're diving into, I think do it respectfully, and do it for the right reasons, and not just to be a dirty pirate. Alright, cool. So that's what I've been playing. Let's get on to the next section, a gaboosh. What's in the news? It's been kind of a slow news week, actually, honestly. Well, maybe not slow, but certainly a single note, which is basically everyone talking about the Switch and their reactions to the Switch, which is great. You know, I mean, that's cool that a machine can generate such, you know, a consistent thread, you know, throughout the news industry. But so obviously, there's, you know, both positive and negative. There's all kinds of stuff out there. I talked about my thoughts on the Switch and the presentation and stuff last week. So if you want to check that out, you can go and see that video. So I won't, you know, go on about that again this week. But I think there's not much else going on in the news. Yeah. So I think we're going to move immediately to Good Morning Blips. And there you go, very nice, bliptastic. And then also, that then very neatly takes us on to the very next section, which is a gaboosh. What's going on with our games right now? So what is going on? What do we have? We have Treasure-Nauts. So continuing with the design, which is really, you know, I'm excited about it. It's really shaping up really well. You know, it's fun. I love the design aspect's really fun because it's one of the most fun periods, I think, of game development. I mean, obviously we're developing and designing at the same time. But the design aspect, I think it's super fun because it's the sky is the limit. You know, anything's possible, and you're kind of coming up with the idea, and then you're kind of like weighing that against what's already in the game, or what the plan is for the game, or you know, and obviously how much time, you know, you want to spend on the game or can afford to spend on the game. So there's a lot of things that kind of compete for the reality of the design you're trying to create. But the very first step of the idea is exciting because there's no constraints on it. You know, reality comes in later as far as, is this going to actually work? So yeah, it's really cool. You know, I'm definitely focusing on trying to get a lot of variety and fun and challenge and all kinds of stuff in Treasure-Nauts. I'm excited about it. So that's going really well. Obviously nothing to show yet, but yeah, it's going really well. I'm excited about it. Chicken Wiggle. We have not got to the boss yet, but we have finished the menus, yay, and now we're fine-tuning core gameplay stuff like collision and stuff like that. So hang on a minute. So that is very nearly finished, which is good. So hopefully next week I'll be able to give more interesting update on that, but it's going well. It's at that weird stage where we're wrapping up, finishing up, got a few big tasks left to do, but you know, they've all been figured out. It's just a matter of doing them. So it's just like, yeah, it's kind of weird actually. I mean, it's busy, but it's not. It's a strange time, but it's, yeah, I'm happy with the online menu and how that all worked out. It's really solid. I think people are going to enjoy navigating that and just the options that are up there. So yeah, no, it's coming along great. And then also the mobile game that I mentioned last week, working with a good friend of mine, Monty, who actually owns his own company, Maestro Interactive. But we're working together on the mobile game. He's a programmer on it, and I'm basically doing everything else. and he and I, got together, and we've been, chatting about stuff, and it's making really good progress. So actually, it's not going to take long to finish it. So in the next few weeks, I hope I'll be able to share something more detailed on that. But it's, yeah, I like it. It's shaping up really good. So yeah, it's good. We're using Unity, and yeah, it's going great. So yeah, making good progress, good stuff. And that actually quite neatly takes me on to the last section, which is random waffles, a gaboosh. All right, random waffles then. I think one of the common things that I think is evident from, over the years, the Renegade Kid and still now, with Atooi is, I work on a lot of projects. Like, I think a lot of people are like, hey, why aren't you just, working 100% on Treasure Knots, and why isn't that finished already, 2 years ago? And then Chicken Wiggle came up, and now there's a mobile game coming up. So what's that about? So, let me tell you what that's about. The sad reality is it's because of money. We have to obviously spend money on, at the very least, on our salaries, so we can pay our own bills, and then any other costs that might be involved in developing a game. So a lot of times, especially with Treasure Knots, it's had to be put on hold and then started again, just because we couldn't afford to just purely continue making the game without some other source of money coming in, whether it be from an investor, a partner, or revenue generated from our old games, or revenue generated from a new game. So that's where, more recently, that's obviously the hope with Chicken Wiggle, is that we'll make the game relatively short project, get it out there, hopefully, generate some revenue, which, comes back in, and the same thing with the mobile game. It's like, yeah, great, let's, try and be smart about this, do this tiny kind of project, put it out there, and then hopefully it brings in the revenue to then, allow us to continue making games, basically. So it's just that vicious cycle, and a lot of times, you have to kind of think a month or 3 or 6 ahead, because, there's the making of the game, even if it's a really short game like a mobile game, there's the making of it, there's the submission process, there's the approval, then there's the release. And then if it makes any money, then there's a delay on when that money will actually land in your bank account, depending on whether it's, directly from Apple, or if it's from ad revenue from videos. They all have their own different way of paying you. Some people require invoices, some people just pay you automatically every month, sometimes it's every quarter, or there's other weird delay involved. So it's, it's really a decision today, won't have a result, potentially, if it has any result at all, until like months away from now. So it's kind of crazy. So you always have to kind of think way ahead. Otherwise, you may get to that point in the future and be like, oh, hey, we don't have any money. Oh well, guess we'll close now then, and we won't finish that game. So, so there you go. That's the sad reality of game development. I've never been in a position where we just have, a big fat, pile of cash that we can just siphon from to just make the games that we want and just focus on one game at a time. It's always that that challenge and struggle to kind of balance the projects, so there's revenue coming in to allow you to make the bigger games like Treasure Knots. You do the smaller games to kind of help subsidize that. So anyway, not very glamorous or exciting, but that's just the way it is. So that's anyway the reason why all these weird little projects pop up for those people who are waiting for Treasure Knots. So it is what it is. The good news is, we're making great progress in all of our games, and it's helping the greater good, which is games like Treasure Knots and other big games that we have planned for the future. It's helping contribute funds towards those ideas and those developments, so they can become a reality. So I think doing a mixture of tiny projects, medium projects, large projects is healthy. It kind of allows you to be flexible and not put all of your eggs in one basket, so you kind of have potentially different ways of money coming in to help you fulfill your creative endeavors. So there you go. So that is it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next Monday. All right, thanks guys. Bye.